Going over to the political part of the podcast, Matt Walsh reacting to a child killer who just got released on parole after serving some time. Now, this brought to us thanks to Matt Walsh on his blog, or rather his X profile, hashtag Matt Walsh blog, in which he says, quote, "The case of the child killer who was paroled and released from prison is even more insane than you think. My team reached out to the parole board last night. We were told that their spokeswoman is under Kentucky law. Logan's killer, Ronald Exantis, is considered a nonviolent offender. He stabbed a child to death and then went on to assault the entire family, yet he is nonviolent under the law because he was only convicted of second-degree assault. The murder didn't count at all because he was not guilty by reason of insanity." That's what we were told. Apparently, Ronald Exantis non-violently stabbed a child to death and then stabbed the rest of the family after breaking into their home. If you think our criminal justice system is completely and totally broken, you don't even know the half of it, it's much worse than you think. Matt Walsh continued, saying, quote, "From what I can tell, this claim is true. Under the law of the state, you can stab someone and still not qualify as a violent offender, but this does not get the parole board off the hook. In my view, all it does is also implicate every single legislator in Kentucky who has either had a hand in passing these laws or failed to change the laws. The rot runs deep. We need massive criminal justice reform across the country, the kind of reform that keeps violent criminals in prison, not this kind of dumps them back out onto the streets." And Matt got 1.5 million views and 62,000 likes, which, that is, our justice system is a joke in the United States. That's disgusting. You heard a kid, and again, I have to remember the YouTube terms and conditions, because, Lord knows, they definitely don't like my channel. I think some of my videos got 0 views, which, again, I know I'm not the best to look at or listen to all the time, but, I mean, statistically speaking, 0? That's impossible. Like, even my family will watch it from time to time, hopefully, maybe. But it's one of those things where, I gotta remember the YouTube terms and conditions. You allowed someone to kill a child and live? And this is a cliche as old as time. We've been hearing these BS, this bullshit for years, where someone just goes, "Oh yeah, I claim insanity." Well, okay, if you're insane, maybe we shouldn't have you. Maybe why are you out on parole? We were told you were insane. You're saying you're reformed now. You killed a kid. Again, there's some offenders where there's there was Ted Nugent says. Will I get in trouble for a quote? Probably. Ted Nugent, when he was talking about, the importance of the Second Amendment and why women should especially have concealed carry, he says, "I don't like repeat offenders when it comes to people hurting women. I like dead offenders." That's what Ted Nugent said. I would never advocate violence, of course. It's an instance where a family is attacked. And again, I would argue this is yet another reason why the Second Amendment is important. Guard your castle like a king. I would argue have the best armament money can buy, or at least in your budget, so that these monsters don't take your family away from you. So not only did he take away a child's life, he stabbed the family members, and the justice system said, "Now that we're going to let him live," which again, not every state has the death penalty as the option for judges to assign or prosecutors to pursue, but we're not only going to let him live, we're going to now let him out. He's okay. He's rehabilitated. Again, some people do become rehabilitated. However, some crimes, I would argue, are so egregious that it should not be an option. I also don't actually believe this piece of shit's been rehabilitated. He killed a kid. It wasn't like involuntary manslaughter where you're driving a vehicle, you swerve, and you accidentally hit a kid. Those type of people, again, it's heartbreaking those things happen. I think they should be punished appropriately. But I understand those people, they could be rehabilitated. I believe they could. Not all times, but I believe that, that is an option there. In this case, broke into a home, and it's sad that, it's disgusting. And I think a lot of people are fed up with the system. And this is yet another reason why politics is important. A lot of these judges are elected on local levels. Unfortunately, most Americans only vote in the presidential election. It's the one that gets all the money, the advertising dollars, all the press, all the media, all the attention. Very few people even vote in the midterms. Even fewer vote on a local level where, again, you can have some of the most big, profound impact or in your life is voting on a local level for sheriffs, judges, mayors, etc. And it's another reason why politics matters. He shouldn't be out on the streets, I don't believe. It's a joke. It's a disgusting joke that he's out and about now. He's on parole, so I'm sure he'll be fine. The police will guard him. They'll make sure he goes to work, has a career. But unfortunately, that kid won't be able to go to work, have a career, have a family, grow up. The kid had the opportunity stolen from it because of him. And yeah, it's disgusting. Now, one of the top comments comes to us thanks to Matt Van Swol. He said, quote, "This should be the easiest and fastest death penalty case in human history. Not at all, not even controversial. Death penalty immediately without delay, gained 2.6 thousand likes." Another issue in the United States. Again, this there's a state-by-state issue when it comes to the death penalty. Of course, there's federal law as well. But again, it takes sometimes decades to actually execute someone in the United States. It's a joke. They get like 58 million appeals. They get years. And again, I understand there are some instances where the evidence is murky, need more discovery. And again, you don't want the wrongful people getting convicted and put to death, understandably. There are some instances where it's so blatant, it should not take, again, decades to do it as well. Now, Amelia Henderson says, quote, 100%. And it's a very famous quote from Adam Smith that's going viral all year, in which he says, quote, "Mercy toward the guilty is cruelty to the innocent." And that got 791 likes. Base Electrician, great to see him in the comments again. He says, quote, "Guilty of your classic nonviolent stabbing spree." And there's the, I was about to say gentleman, piece of shit there. He's got a bullet-resistant vest on. Got some dreadlocks. My biceps bigger than my leg. I'm not saying much. I need to do more squats. But yeah, I got 114 likes. He's in this case, African-American man. And the police officer next to him is looking hilariously stupid. Which again, I don't have much ground to stand on. I look like this. But yeah, that is, she looks silly there. Rusty Shackelford says, quote, "When the system fails," there's the vigilante who famously took justice into his own hands, where there's a man who abused his son. And dad goes, "Yeah, not today, son." Well, that didn't come out grammatically correct, but he says, "Not today," and he killed the guy. In his famous video clip, it was the child abuser was walking down in some payphones, and the dad was on the payphone, turned around and gave him some street justice and executed him. Got 606 likes. We also have Homecoming School Queen Bee says that's diabolical. Says, "I hate the content of their character," getting 447 likes. Chris Warman says, quote, "The insanity claim has never made any sense. If someone is so mentally disturbed that they don't know murder is wrong, they have no business walking freely among us in the public." Yep, getting 2,000 likes. I agree. No Context Videos profile says, quote, "Capital punishment for the judges who release these violent criminals to murder someone else," getting 119 likes. No Context Memes, or memes as I comically call them, says, quote, "This is the Kentucky Parole Board that released the child killer. The decision to release him could have been made by just 2 to 3 members if they all agreed the entire panel, if they agreed and the entire panel didn't agree. X wants to know who made the decision and why." Got 772 likes, and geez Louise, they're comically, they just look ridiculous. Looks like someone actually labeled all of them, and it was one guy who said keep him in jail. And someone says 7 Karens and 3 cucks, can't explain anything else. That got 725 likes. Liberty Kevlar as a picture says, "Anarcho-tyranny, we refuse to control real criminals. That's the anarchy. Oh, that's the anarchy. We control the innocent. That's the tyranny." It's a quote from Samuel Francis, 1994. Hawkeye McCawkeye face as a meme that Elon Musk famously tweeted earlier last week. And it's the person who says, "Your Honor, my client is too dumb to understand shooting people is bad." The judge goes, "Good point. Put him back in the public." Getting 292 likes. Is there any contrarian statements here? Not thus far. Homeschool Queen Bee has a picture of Jesus holding a toad. And Jesus says it will be okay. And the toad is saying, "Too many demons." Getting 102 likes. Let's see. I Love American News says, "I agree." There's a screenshot of the article from October 2nd, 2025. It says, "Man who killed Versailles' boy in his bedroom in 2015, released early from Kentucky prison." In 234 likes. No contrarian statement thus far. Definitely not advice. Suspicious profile. I can't help but think maybe it is advice. Nevertheless, she says, quote, "If you have the insanity anywhere in the verdict, you should stay in a facility for the rest of your life or celebrate your last birthday immediately. Insanity should not get you off the hook of your consequences it should make them more severe, getting 206 likes. Logic Paradox has a quote from John Wayne, the GOAT, the Duke, the most famous Iowan, I would argue, of all time. Can I do a John Wayne accent? I can, but not well. All right, come here, Pilgrim. Out here, due process is bullet. Which, I butchered 2 quotes. What was that? Thanksgiving special he was on? Nevertheless. That was a terrible attempt. But nevertheless, the attempt was made. And that got 42 likes. Well, not me, but the meme. You also have Solar Chad saying, quote, Ulysses, I cannot pronounce this biblical name. Isosceles? No, that's a triangle. Well, I'm stumbling more than usual today, which is why I say click that subscribe button. When I first started the show, I spoke faster than Ben Shapiro and more awkwardly than Joe Biden tried to climb upstairs. But as I slowly but surely gain more subscribers, I become slightly better at speaking. A lot of people would argue I haven't, barely at all, though I would argue, statistically speaking, a little bit better. So I always tell people, click that subscribe button. It'll make me maybe go through an entire episode someday speaking perfectly articulately. Don't forget to tell your friends and your enemies. Your enemies might be so enamored and impressed by your decision and your choice in podcast material that they then become your friends. Or they find me so visually, and, just disgusting, also in terms of my speech, that they then become greater enemies and it becomes a physical altercation. So maybe I shouldn't recommend it. Either way, make for a funny story. So why not tell your friends and your enemies? But in all seriousness, you have Soul Chad with that quote saying, quote, or it's from Bible 3:16 says, moreover, I saw under the sun in the place of justice, even there was wickedness. In the place of righteousness, even there was wickedness, getting 259 likes. A lot more people repeating the quote of Adam Smith. You also have MAGA Barbie saying, quote, mostly peaceful stabbing, getting 55 likes. Elvin Unleashed says, when stabbing a child to death is classified as non-violent, justice system isn't broken, it's corrupted. We replace moral clarity with legal gymnastics, and the innocent are paying the price for the system's cowardice. Getting 211 likes, and let's make it 212. 213 likes, there you go. Riptid Politics says, no one who kills someone should ever be allowed in prison, getting 40 likes. Well, it's a long quote, but I think it's one of the best ones. Well, it is by number of likes, so I'll read it. It's from Dan Bribos, who says, quote, this is exactly what happens when a system built to protect society gets hijacked by legal technicalities, activist judges, and cowardice legislators. We'd rather look compassionate on paper than keep monsters behind bars. Following a guy who broke into a house and stabbed a child to death, a non-violent offender, is not justice, it's bureaucratic, gaslighting. You did not click the subscribe button, that's what happened there. They are not following the law, they're hiding behind it, stacking charges in the way that scrubs the murder, rebranding him as insane, then quietly slipping him into a parole category meant for people who wrote bad checks. This is why the public's trust in criminal justice is vaporizing. If you can butcher a child and legally be classified as nonviolent, then words don't mean anything anymore. There's no deterrent, no accountability, no justice for the victims. The parole board didn't accidentally release him. The law was rewritten to allow this exact outcome. It's not a flaw, it's a design. And until someone with a spine rewrites those statutes, cleans house on these boards, and restores sanity to sentencing, every family is one quote-unquote nonviolent lunatic away from their own tragedy. In 178, let's make it 179 likes. And again, there are a lot of people who are extrapolating or guessing, who is, these Biden-appointed judges or, boards, or he was, there's a lot of people speculating in the background of some of these folks. But yeah, I can't help but think, hopefully this gets more and more people involved in local politics. They start to, primary these people, or just to can't get anyone worse than those folks who are on that board. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so you click that button. I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, and comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback. Let me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone, everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.